over the past few decades, the direction of which seed, both genetic engineering and certain aspects of hybridization went, that it went away from being something that's beneficial, that helps us and makes us stronger and makes us calmer, to something that has become very agitating and inflammatory. So just the opposite of what I feel like the maker intended to begin with. So wheat's an example that I had noticed many of my patients could go to Europe, and in the United States they'd be very allergic to wheat in terms of causing bloating and gastric upset and skin problems. A lot of people that have wheat allergies have a lot of bumps on their foreheads and bumps on their arms. They'll have scratch marks on the sides of their body, and then they'll have rashes on their forearms where they scratch incessantly. There's people that are real allergic to it. But they can go to Europe and they can have all the wheat and croissants and whatnot that they want. They can have all the cheese and things that they desire, and then they come back to the United States and they're just as allergic as they were before. And so the type of wheat that we grow in this country is primarily Russian red or Turkey red. And it's been further hybridized, where wheat used to grow about this tall, now it grows about 19 inches exactly. It all ripens on the same day. And it's made perfectly for the combine, and it's made to tolerate pesticides and herbicides, fungicides, and things like that. But it's basically indigestible, and it's become quite toxic. Even the government's noticed an 8 times increase in celiac disease in the men, and a lot of this just happened in the past few decades. The other thing that causes wheat to be more toxic is the fact that up till about 100 years ago, most grains were fermented. Even porridge was fermented. Bread was fermented for 72 hours, typically with wild strains of yeast and lactobacillus and things like that. And in that 72-hour process, they would take the glutens and gladins and break them down into digestible forms that weren't toxic. And so it's a double whammy. We've gone to a toxic form of those things, and we don't sour them much any longer. And even in town here, the sourdough bread that you get is either soured with an acid if it's in the supermarket, so it's soured, but it's not fermented. Or some of the bakeries make sourdough bread, but they add yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, to make it fluffy. And when I do allergy tests, 80% of the people are reactive to Saccharomyces cerevisiae now, because we've gotten that every single day of our life. And now they also take it and break it down and make it into a natural form of MSG. So one form of the other, you've got yeast proteins in so many foods for flavoring and whatnot. One place I'll send people is Rise and Shine. It's a local fermenters up on the hillside. So it's riseandshinebread.com. And that's the only one I know that does not use any added yeast that way. They still use American, but it's organic wheat. So I'm working on them to start ultimately using some einkorn wheat, and I put that down here. And it's the only non-hybrid wheat in existence, and they're growing it now in Italy. I've ordered some off Amazon.com, so you can get some there as you can get most everything. And the second thing I listed here, dairy-wise, and again, you know, so many people reacting to dairy, and the head sinus fills up and all that kind of stuff. And again, they go to Europe. And why is that they can do that? Well, it turns out cow-wise, the Guernsey cow is one of the most hypoallergenic cows. They're 85% hypoallergenic. And the type of casein is in the form of A2 beta casein. And our bodies do wonderful with A2 beta casein. They're developing these A2 herds in New Zealand, where they type the tail of the Guernsey cow, and they can tell if it's 100% A2 producers, and they put them in these A2 herds. And again, I've been trying to encourage some farmers up here to try to get some A2 herds going, because we can afford, in a sense, to have farming and stuff if we find out what our niche is. Our carrots are the best in the world up here. Why are we not known for our carrots out there? And we could grow, we could have Guernsey cows that are A2 milk, and they found in these milk from these 100% A2 cows in New Zealand, because normally with a kid who's prone to autism, you give them American dairy and they'll send them deep into an autistic crisis. They just shut down. You give them A2 milk with the A2 beta casein, they come out of the autistic crisis. So it's not that dairy is bad, it's the form that's bad and what we've done to it. So at the very least, I have people, get European cheese from Guernsey cows. Now, there's some available in the United States, too. And it tastes more wonderful. Like the einkorn wheat, it has flavor again. Just like the vegetables, people can grow on their own with using heirloom vegetables, it has flavor. The modern tomato is bred for all ripening at the same time, and it's for an even color. And because an heirloom tomato is bright, and but it has a little green on the end, on the stem. And the public thought, oh, it's not ripe or whatever. So now it's pale on the outside, but it's white on the inside. And so in getting bushels per acre, et cetera, we bred all the goodness out of it, which some of the other flyers have you take home. And so in doing a lot of cancer work like I do in my practice, anti-cancer and keeping free from cancer and actually curing cancer is all about pigment. And that's something we don't have in our food supply in the United States any longer, is pigment. You cut nearly every vegetable or any fruit open, and it's white on the inside. Milk from a Guernsey cow that is free range, the milk is yellow. And the butter is naturally yellow, as the butter in the United States was until about 1950 or so. And when we switched to Holstein cows, which are almost 100% A1 beta casein, toxic casein, and we shut them indoors. A cow that grazes, that's the right kind, the cream is yellow, as the butter is yellow. But now when you buy butter commercially, they add an auto color and all kinds of colors to it, of which they had laws prior to 1940 that the margarine people could not color their margarine because it looked like butter. And it was deceptive to the public. So they had to sell margarine, which was white, which I'm not in favor of, but with a little color thing on the side. People would bring it home and mix the color into it. Well, once we brought the cows indoors and they no longer had any greens that they ate and no carotenoids, their milk became white and they started adding color, and they quietly lifted the law. So margarine producers were able to add it because the dairy producers were adding it. So they were equaling the playing field, but it was deceptive. And so things like organic belly cream is the closest we can come to low production cows in this country that graze. And in the summertime and the fall, they have pasture butter, and it's in a green label, and it's 100% pasture cows. And it's the darkest, deepest yellow, and it's just wonderful. And those carotenoids, again, are anti-cancer. They do wonderful things for us. And so here, the thing about organic heirloom plants. So when you buy plants that are not made for bushels per acre, et cetera, that are not made for a perfectly round shape, they have things like the tomatoes have lycopene in it, which if a person eats an heirloom tomato, a male, for instance, lycopene is one of the things that keep prostate cancer away. And so it's rampant in this country because no one has eaten a tomato that has any lycopene left in it, among other things, vitamin D and a few of the other things that can affect that, of which vitamin D used to occur naturally in milk because cows were outdoors all the time. And they ate plants that naturally had some vitamin D in it. And so they would convert that into vitamin D3, et cetera. So milk used to be a source of calcium and vitamin D and things that kept cancer away. But now they have to artificially add irradiated fungus extract, vitamin D2, to milk. So people say, well, I gotta drink milk, I need my vitamin D. Well, it's not real vitamin D that's in there. But it used to be. So it had some stuff. And so by growing your own, it's gonna, it brings taste back, because things that are good for us, they taste great. They feel great. And they make us live a long time. And then the last thing to kind of hit on a little bit here is the beneficial phytochemicals that can only come from plants that aren't wimps. And when a plant is not all coddled and protected and et cetera, and they grow where they are subjected to fungicide or fungus, and they're subjected to mites and other insects, et cetera, they produce these phytochemicals that turn out to be anti-cancer in the response to keep certain insects away, to help fight other fungi and different things. And so that ends up